Welcome back, everybody. Pensive Piper here. Well, at the time that I'm filming this video, it's the 9th of May 2020, which happens to be the 75th anniversary of VE Day, or Victory in Europe Day. That's the 75th anniversary of the German surrender in World War II, marking the end of the Second World War in the European theater. Now, the actual war wouldn't be over for another couple of months when the Japanese surrendered in August of 1945, but it's still a huge holiday. And to commemorate that anniversary, I'm smoking a cigar in honor of Sir Winston Churchill, one of the great men of the 20th century and one of the great leaders of the Allies in World War II. Now, many of you know that my wife and I celebrated the birth of our first daughter last week, and her name is Elizabeth. Now, she wasn't named directly for Queen Elizabeth, but we certainly took some inspiration from the great British monarch. She's one of the last people on planet Earth that actually had a personal working relationship with Winston Churchill. So she's somebody that I would love to be able to sit down and have lunch or a cup of tea and just listen to her talk about her stories of Winston Churchill and some of the things that she saw during that time period. It'd be really interesting to get some insight. Oftentimes I come out here to my tobacco lounge and I will smoke my pipe and I will read a book. And the book that I'm currently reading is this one. It is The Second World War by Winston Churchill himself. Now, the version I'm reading is actually an abridged version of 6 books that he wrote in a series called The Second World War. And if you're any kind of a history buff, or if you find World War II to be intriguing, you've got to check this book out. It's a must-read. And so I sit out here in my garage and I read the book, and oftentimes I find myself reading the book in Winston Churchill's voice. Because of the way it's written, it's got his sort of speech pattern and his rhythm to the words and to the paragraphs. And so I can just imagine him sitting in his English manner, smoking a cigar, drinking some scotch, and writing this book. Now, Winston did smoke a pipe, but he was definitely more of a cigar man. So much so that they've even named a style of cigar after him, the Churchill. I've also been doing a lot of reflecting on the current state of affairs with the COVID-19 crisis, and with today being VE Day, it just got me thinking about what the people that went through World War II must have felt like when the Germans finally surrendered and the war in the European theater was won. The jubilation and the excitement and the celebration that must have been happening during that time was probably something that the world has never seen. And it leaves me inspired to think about the way humanity is going to react when we make it through this current situation. Now, I don't want to compare the two situations of World War II and this COVID-19 crisis, but I do think it serves as a valuable lesson that every generation of humans has faced its own challenges. And I know that if we all just stay hopeful and positive and we support each other at the local level, make sure you're taking care of your neighbors and your friends and your families, anybody that needs help, and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it either. But I think seeing photos of people celebrating VE Day, it inspires me, and it just gets me thinking about the great men and women of that era that got us through and stuck to their principles and did what they thought was right because they were put in that position. They had no choice but to do the right thing. And so many people stepped up and did the right thing during that time. It's inspiring. And so I read this book. I'm I read this and I just think to myself, like, wow, the challenges that people faced. It's just incredible, incredible. It's really hard to put into perspective just how long Queen Elizabeth has been the face of the British monarchy. She's been the head of that state almost since Victory in Europe Day in 1945. She was queen less than 10 years after that. And to think that she's carried herself with such grace and dignity during that entire time span is just astounding. I mean, it's just fascinating to think about that this incredible woman knew Winston Churchill personally, and man, they went through some really challenging times together, the most challenging times. Certainly of the last couple hundred years. I mean, World War II was something else. And the people of the world banded together, and they did what they thought was right to stop tyranny. And I know that we're going to get through this COVID-19 crisis, and we're going to come out the other side. If that generation can get through World War II, we certainly can get through this.